welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me, Jazz. So today I will be showing you how I encapsulated a full nail set using my Mini Fruit and Lime Frizz Jelly Gel polish from Madam Glam. So right now I'm just going to be pushing back the cuticles from both of her hands. It seems like her cuticles are a little bit hard, so I did place her fingers in a little bit of water just to soften them up, so I can be able to push them back as gentle as possible. I did cut a little bit of her cuticles using the cuticle cutter, and here I am actually using my sanding bit, the 180 sanding bit, and gently sanding down the natural nail. I am not sanding it down to file anything down or to thin the natural nail out. I am very gentle, carefully getting from sidewall to sidewall in the cuticle area all the way down to the free end of the nail. And right here she had a little bit of acrylic from her last set, and I am gently removing it with my sanding bit. Now this is just a reminder that I am filing down, or not filing down, but I am sanding the natural nail down, but it's only to remove any oils or any excess anything that's in the natural nail that would cause any type of lifting or anything, just any type of lifting. You have to be very gentle with the natural nail. You do not want to thin out the nail, because from when I first started doing nails, that's one experience that I had. When I would file too low or file down the natural nail too thin, you will cause lifting as well. So here next I will be placing or applying the nail tips. These are clear nail tips. I believe I bought these in Amazon. They're very inexpensive. It brought 100 nail tips. I believe it was like $8.99 or something in Amazon. Just remember that when you apply the nail tip, you have to make sure that they fit properly from sidewall to sidewall. And they're called tips, so you're not supposed to put them like as if they're press-on nails. Obviously, you put them all the way down to the tip and make sure that they are flush down to the sidewall, from sidewall to sidewall. If you run into a size finger or fingernail that it's not the right size, just make sure that you file down the nail tip to fit properly onto the nail. You have to make sure that your nail tip is not too small for the natural nail. If you have to push down, they will eventually break or crack, and you don't want that to happen, obviously. So just make sure that they fit properly onto the natural nail. So I forgot to mention that to put on my tips, I love, absolutely love the KDS glue. It dries really quickly and really tight. I definitely recommend the KDS glue, and again, I actually purchased that through Amazon. It comes like 4 little bottles in the package, and I believe, I'm not sure if it was close to $10, maybe it was a little bit more. I really can't remember, but I do definitely recommend KDS glue. It's a nail glue, and I love it to glue on my tips. So next I will be using my 100 to 180 nail file um, to file down and shape my the nail tips to whatever your client or the person wants. So she asked for cuffing nail tips, so that's what I'm doing. I am filing gently from sidewall to sidewall into the shape of coffin. Here I'm making sure that as I file, I'm making sure that each nail is the right length. So, so I'm measuring them side by side and making sure that they're all the right and correct length. So here I'm using my 180 sanding bit again to not file, I would say just making the tip flush with the natural nail. I personally like to sand over the tip so that I guess the acrylic will adhere a little bit better. I don't know, I just personally like to do that. Not everybody can does it. You don't have to. I've done sets where I don't have to do that, or I just don't do that. It's an actual step. Since I haven't been doing any nail sets, I'm just doing this on my daughter. I feel like I have a little bit more time, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to sand down the tip. And so, yeah, but you do have to try to make the tip flush with the natural nail so that when you apply the acrylic, everything goes down smoothly. So next I am going to be using, or I am using some alcohol to make sure I take as much of this dust that the nails had on there and making sure that it's nice and clean. Now I'm going to be applying the primer. I like to use Young Nails. It's pretty pricey, but I really feel that it works for me. I don't know what everybody else uses and if it works for them. I mean, but it works for me. I do see a lot of people using Young Nails, and I really can't complain. I really like it. Next, I'm going to be putting on a clear layer on the bottom onto the natural nail and the tip. I personally like to do like kind of like a base of acrylic, of clear acrylic on after I put on the primer, just to secure the primer on there onto the natural nail. I like to put the primer twice on the nails It's definitely recommended. But yeah, I really like to put the clear. Um, it's mostly recommended for when you use color acrylic so that it won't stain the natural nail. But I personally like to use it anyways. I don't care if I'm going to be building the nail with just regular nail or regular acrylic, clear acrylic. I'd still like to, I personally like to use like kind of like a base of clear acrylic on top of the primer so that I can work and take my time before without having the primer dry out. So pretty much here, what I am doing next is applying a little bit of clear acrylic onto the nail very lightly and using that as glue to apply the little fruits that I have. They're like little sponges, or not really sponges, they're like little erasers, but they're not erasers, they're actually meant for nails. And sometimes they lift up a little bit. You can see me holding the little banana down onto the clear acrylic that I had just placed because they curl up sometimes, and you would want the fruit or whatever you put down to be as flat as possible. So right now what I'm doing is placing a small bead of acrylic onto the fruits itself. If you're encapsulating something pretty thick like this, I personally like to push down a little bit of acrylic onto the fruits, and that way it can fill in the crevices and whatever's underneath. That makes it a lot easier when you encapsulate the nail, not to put so much acrylic onto the nail. And it also just helps you out with having a smooth flat canvas instead of a lumpy canvas before you put on the acrylic. Shortly right after I do that to each nail, I'd start to encapsulate with my 3-ball method. So here I'm pretty much taking my 180 100 file and filing the acrylic, making sure that my shape is not out of the ordinary, making sure that it's still nice and coffin. Here I'm taking my medium file drill bit and I am filing down or filing the nail to make it nice and smooth. I also try to get as close as I can to the cuticle area. This is a safety drill bit, so it would not cut your client. The tip is rounded, so it works very well. I've never cut myself or anybody else with this drill bit. Again, it's a medium. I also like to use my fine drill bit, which that one, it is also a safety bit, and I like to go around the cuticle area to get it nice and flush with the natural nail that holds a nice seal so that you won't get any lifting.
you all my personal dreams.
So now I pretty much have a buffer, a sanding buffer for nails, and I'm buffing out the nails, any scratches or anything that the e-file left. I like to buff the nail down nice and smooth, so when you put the top coat or even gel polishes over, it'll be nice and smooth. I also learned a tip to put primer, the Young Nails primer. If you see any scratches on there, apply some primer on there, and it actually helps out smooth the scratches. I am pretty much making sure that everything is nice and clean. She went to wash her hands, and now the nail set is ready for application of the gel polish. She picked out the jelly, the Lime Fizz from Madam Glam gel polish, which I think is beautiful. It's awesome. And it looks like at the end it's gonna look like jelly nails with fruits pretty much. You'll be able to see the fruit over it or under it, and they look so awesome. They look like they're floating on the nails, and it's a perfect, to me it's a perfect nail set for jelly nails with the encapsulated underneath.